Adjustments before I get started. Oh, wow. This has been one of the more intense mornings that I've had in a very, very long time. In the description box, first of all, today is the 16th of November 2021. Welcome, everyone, as you come in. And I'm actually pretty blown away right now. I'm not going to be able to get into all the details, and I know that's kind of anticlimactic and maybe unfair to you, but considering things, I'm going to get into it to some extent. Uh, it's been a rough morning. It's like doing an engine overhaul. In the description box below are two links. The first one is to a video that apparently Richard Granson did about a year ago on bullying and who's bullying and why and how to react to it. And as you listen to it, you realize that he's not just addressing your problems in school or, maybe someone in your family that bullies you or something like that. He's talking about the current tyranny that we are facing and what we must do if we want to get to the other side of this. And if you look at the video with that objective in mind, you'll understand exactly what he's talking about. So I won't comment much more on it directly, other than that, it's about a 15-minute video. And I consider it to be absolutely imperative that everyone see it. And then consider what he's talking about in light of the world situation right now, and that almost every country in the world is bowing down to forcing a tyranny upon their citizens, upon their people. And those that have refused to do so, countries I'm talking about, the leaders that have stood up have been taken out. Okay, this is the crux of what his presentation is, and he put it up a year ago, so he saw what was coming, as a lot of us did. But he just placed it in into a method of delivery that makes it so that he can avoid the censors, so to speak, which is why I speak the way I do, and I'm not always very successful in avoiding those censors. But you need to go see that video. Again, it's in the description box below. Richard Granson, and he gives a very good lecture for about 15 minutes that you really need to hear. The second item in the description box is the link to my book site, The Crimson Thread, that Roosevelt was so kind to put together and place up on the web so that people could have access to my book, The Crimson Thread. And a lot of my study information, like the Dead Sea Scrolls, the Eisenman series, etc., as to why I don't follow the standard history that we're taught by the extant establishment. And the reason why I put it in there is because there's a little, well, the book is not a page turner, a page burner, I should say. As I've said before, it's kind of hard. I'm not a novelist, I'm a historian, so it's kind of hard for me to write exciting novels. But what's important really is what's in the introduction to the book, and I'm going to read one paragraph of it this morning because it's apropos to what Richard Granson addressed and some other information that a person on Twitter was so kind to introduce me to. Now, having been involved in history for many years, I know that the victors write history, and I know that it's a whitewash of what really happened. One of the things that I do or did when I was trying to teach history was I'd use Josephus as an example about how he wrote for and in behalf of the Flavian emperors, and that what he wrote wasn't always entirely accurate. It gives us a good picture into what happened then, but it's not the whole story. And there is no history on the face of the earth, including the Bible. The person that sent me this information today would probably object to me saying that, but I can look at it in the big picture, and I can tell you that even the supposed, while a lot of things in the Bible have been archaeologically proven and things like that, the interpretation of those things is often skewed and distorted. And that's where we are today. And that really happened in a really bad way in the Pauline epistles in the New Testament. Be that as it may, the link is in the description box to the Crimson Thread website. And you're welcome to read the manuscript there. It says download, but you don't get to keep it. You just download it to read it during the time. It's a PDF, so you can't change it. I don't know why we would do that, right? I didn't need people changing what I said. But I wanted to read one paragraph out of the introduction that it applies to what's happened to us over some length of time and is ongoing today on steroids. And as Richard Granson puts out, the threat out there is so intense that we think we need to get in the car when they point a gun at us and tell us to get in the car or else. And of course, if you get in the car, if you go along with it and not fight them on the spot, your end state will be much worse than if you had fought them up front. That is one of the big reasons why I find a problem in the New Testament story. The concept of turning the other cheek when a person who is bound and determined to hurt you, even kill you, is propaganda that's being put out by the bullies, not by those who are really concerned about your welfare. Hi, Ms. Cat. So let me read this to you. This is out of my book, The Crimson Thread. No, it's no longer in print. I had it printed up by Book Surge. They're the publisher. And they had an agreement with Amazon. And so it was on Amazon, and then Amazon wanted to change the contract that I had and get access to my bank account. And I said, absolutely not. So it's no longer in print. That's why, but the manuscript that's in the description box below is not the current edition. It's the original edition. This book here is the second edition, frankly, but the first edition is close enough, and the manuscript up there is great that we can go with that. What happened was after I published it, you go through and you find little errors that you made, whatever, things that you want to change slightly, and so in the second edition I made some of those changes, names that I put in the wrong place, or maybe a punctuation error, that kind of thing. Nothing substantial to the content or to the meaning of the book, but just those kind of minor errors, and published the second edition. However, I did it on the book proof, not the manuscript. So I don't have the book proof that I did those edition changes on, so I couldn't put that up. But the manuscript, the original manuscript, is close enough for our purposes. So let me read out of this. This is in the introduction, and it goes right along with what Richard Granson is saying and what I've been saying about where we are today, the lies, the extant lies about our origins, about our history, about what's happened over the course of centuries, not millennia. Again, there's an individual that sent me some information today, and I'm really going to go through it with a fine-tooth comb. I don't know that I'll ever present it because it's so beyond that I don't know that people could possibly process the information. Again, because of my historical training, I can look at these things that are somewhat discomforting, knowing that the bullies, the victors, write the history, and I can view it from that point and make some judgment calls. And again, the Richard Granson video here has a lot to do with the subject matter on that that change that has happened to us and why we are in the straits that we are today. Let me put these glasses on just to read here. Again, this is out of my introduction from the book. And I'm going to go, actually, I'm going to read two paragraphs. So now, and I read this whole book on this website, on the website that I'm telling you about, the Crimson Thread website, and on YouTube here. The reading of the Crimson Thread is on there. You can actually go on and listen to it, and read the manuscript as well. Both my oral reading of the book and the actual manuscript itself are on this website, so you can do either one. Okay, but this is out of the introduction, and I need to read it because this is what's happened in general terms. Since that time, we're talking about Jesus' time, various religions, governments, and sects have tried to structure history from faith and impose it upon us as immutable fact. We must examine with particular demands on reason all aspects of the evidence if we are to be honest with ourselves. One point in Christian scripture seems to make sense given our place in the world and the chance, albeit a small one, to become something greater than we are. If the self-appointed Apostle Paul said anything of value, and I don't mind saying it that way, it was that we are to be joint heirs with Christ, meaning we cannot make the Creator anthropomorphic, but it seems obvious that the Creator has provided us a path to achieve a higher level of understanding, to take some of the Creator's attributes to ourselves. A most important aspect of that character is to look for the truth. As one author put it, to put dogma above truth is no way to honor God. And of course, there's a scripture in the New Testament which goes along with all the rest of what we know about life, and that is that if you search for the truth will set you free. Sometimes it's not a comfortable place to be, but it will set you free if you abide by it and act upon it. Continuing. This book is the story of the beginning of that consciousness which would cause the great kingdoms of the earth to tremble. They're trying to destroy your understandings now, the spiritual nudges that you're getting. They're trying to destroy that. They're trying to override it with everything that they're doing. The empires and governments of the world, the rich and powerful rulers over the common man, saw a vision of their own demise in the rising of the people to new levels of realization. During and beyond the events of this book, the great powers of the world would use highly refined systems of fear and manipulation to hide the truth of these events from subsequent generations and seek to suppress the swelling of liberty in the hearts of individuals over whom they held power. The Roman Empire, the Inquisition, and even on to the present day, the powerful try to manipulate and control the masses using a potent mixture of religiosity, superstition, and fear, and I might add, lies. But the truth whispers to our consciousness like the remembrance of a son for a father. Will we listen? Nothing is as it seems. I've known about some of this information that was sent to me this morning for actually a number of years. But even knowing myself how history can be manipulated by the powerful, and I'm not talking about the Mandela effect. I find a problem with the Mandela effect, but I might be wrong about that too. But with this information I got today, and I know I'm being vague, what I will tell you is what I just read you out of the Crimson Thread is absolutely the case. They've used a sophisticated system of fear, manipulation, lies, distortions, etc., to keep us from knowing the truth. The most important truth being who we are, where we came from, and where we're going. So I'm going to continue on this new study line, and I probably won't mention it much on this channel until I come to some conclusions. But I want you to know that I'm not closed-minded enough to dismiss new information out of hand that goes against my concepts, my precepts, my cogitations, and my pontifications. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things unseen. And I know that that's Pauline, but it has some truth in it, and it comes from those who were trying to speak the truth, and he just took that and used it for his own purposes. But there is a lot of truth to that. The problem is, what is the evidence? Is it real evidence, or is it like we've seen in the Rittenhouse trial, fabrications of evidence by the prosecution in that case, which would symbolize the liars, betrayers, and power brokers in our world today. What those prosecutors did to Rittenhouse, and the way they twisted and altered evidence is exactly on a smaller microcosm what's happened to us as mankind, as all of mankind today, how we've been lied and manipulated. If you want to know how bad the world is, look at what those prosecutors did in the Rittenhouse case. I hope that the jury sees through it all. I know there are a lot of threats being made against them personally. I know, and against the judge too. Because if the judge and the jury goes the other way with the prosecutors, well, then the evil ones will have succeeded. Again, Richard Granson's thing here in the description box below, where if you don't say no to the bullies and go along with them, they take you to a worse place. So when the prosecutor, Binger, pointed that weapon, that AR-15, at the jury, I don't think he was doing that just because he doesn't know about weapons discipline. I think he was sending a very subtle, subliminal message to the jury that they better do what he says. They better come down on Rittenhouse or they will have hell to pay. I think that was the subliminal message that was being sent. He ought to be charged with brandishing a weapon. He should be, and for prosecutorial misconduct and actually altering evidence. He should be prosecuted for all of those things, but that won't happen. I think we all know that. As somebody said, he'll probably be made a judge, right? Because that's what the system is now. It's total distortion, evil, lies, betrayals. And why? That's the question, why? Well, it's pretty simple, really. Why would you go to all the trouble to alter history in every conceivable way you can, even the Holy Scriptures? Why would you do that? Well, it's all told in the first book of the Bible, Genesis, when Cain, in order to obtain gain, murders his brother for gain. So that's just that simple. And it's a little more sophisticated now. The powers that be have been allowed to progress technologically to the point where they think that they can eliminate all life on earth and become gods. Well, real gods don't act like that. Only devils act like that with the gifts of knowledge that they're given. Ladies and gentlemen, we have to say no. And not just say it, but stand our ground, immovable, with determination, with belligerence, because if we falter when they point that gun at us and we don't say no, and we get in that car with them, our destruction is assured. Much better to stand up now than to think that we can weather the threats and put off the inevitable. I think that's all I have this morning. Uh, I want to thank the people that take the time to send me information. I can't ever get to all of it. I can't ever get to all of it. But somehow the more important things seem to get through to my attention. And I want to thank those who send these things to me. I'm not saying that what you sent to me is 100% accurate, but there's certainly enough information there, especially the architectural evidence, more so than almost anything else, that requires me to give it more attention and study. So the individuals that have sent me that information know who they are, and I want to thank them for it. And hopefully we stay in touch. Okay. Even the story about Jesus has been changed by those in power. Again, I pointed just one out. Turn the other cheek. That's not what the early Christians believed, and I've talked about that in my Eisenman series about the Dead Sea Scrolls and James, etc. You're not expected to bow down to the evil and to obey them, despite what you think Romans 13 says. You are not to submit to evil. You are to oppose it with every fiber of your being. Jesus wasn't killed by the Roman Empire, not the Jews, by the way. Jesus wasn't killed by the Roman Empire because he taught the Beatitudes on the Mount of Olives. No. He was killed because he told the Romans to go fuck themselves. Sorry to use rough language, but I want to hit you in the head with a 2x4. Sometimes that's the only way you can get somebody's attention. Have a good day, everyone.